shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. They're back in New York. I know you were expecting the whole band to be here again, but they are they're actually this week they're back in New York at a bluegrass festival in New York State this weekend. So I'll see what they say about coming next week. I think they will not be here next week. However, we've already discussed the possibility of maybe if they're back here in town for Meadowgrass one more time next year. Yeah, if they're here for Meadowgrass next year, then maybe we'll be able to bring them back again. So, well, yeah. So if anybody wants to be the head of the field trip committee, we'll see if we can set that up. We'll put it in the Bibles. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmereini. Page 129. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmereini. Oti le'ol me'ad beino uveini. Oti le'ol me'ad beino uveini. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmereini. Ki eshmer Shabbat el yishmereini. Oti le'ol me'ad beino uveini. Oti le'ol me'ad beino uveini. Page 120. Blessings for lighting our Shabbat candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Page 130, we begin to make our way through the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat. Lechu neranina Adonai. Let us sing joyfully to God. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina Adonai. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina Adonai. Naria, naria, litzur yishenu, nikadma fanav b'toda. Naria, naria, litzur yishenu, v'zmirot naria lo. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina al Adonai. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina Adonai. Page 131, the bottom paragraph. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, umelo. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Let's read together the indented paragraph on page 132 from Psalm 96. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. Let the sea and all within it thunder. The fields and everything in them exult. Then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its people in faithfulness. Psalm 97, page 132, near the bottom of the page. Light and happiness for the righteous and for the good-hearted. May we all have this blessing. Or Zaruah, Gad Sadi, Uishvele Simcha. Or Zaruah, Gad Sadi, Uishvele Simcha. Or Zaruah, Gad Sadi, Uishvele Simcha. Uishvele Simcha. Or Zaruah, Gad Sadi, Uishvele Simcha. Uishvele Simcha. Lai 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 lai. Or Zaruah Lad Sadi Uishvele Simcha. Or Zaruah Lad Sadi Uishvele Simcha. We'll read together at the bottom of 133. A psalm, sing to Adonai a new song. For God has worked wonders. God's right hand, God's holy arm has won God victory. Adonai has manifested God's victory, has displayed God's triumph in the sight of the nations. God was mindful of God's steadfast love and faithfulness toward the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth beheld the victory of our God. Raise a shout to Adonai, all the earth. Break into joyous songs of praise. Psalm 99. Page 135, the bottom of the Hebrew. Rodenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Rodenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romenu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romenu. Romenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romenu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romenu. Romenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romenu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Psalm 29 on page 137. We'll sing the last words of the psalm, speaking of God's strength in the universe to give us that strength and to also give us the blessing of peace. Lai, 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 Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Lai 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 lai. We'll continue with Lecha Dodi, page 138 and 139, as we welcome in the Shabbat bride. Lecha Dodi likakala yalala 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 di Shabbat nikavela. Lecha Dodi likakala yalala 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 di Shabbat nikavela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, ishmi anu el hamiluchad, Adonai echad, Shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet ve'elet gila, lecha dodi likakala yalalai 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 le'shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likakala yalalai 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 le'shabbat nekavela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mikor ha'bracha, berosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh v'machsheva tefila, lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 le'shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 le'shabbat nekavela. Verse number 5. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva oret kuvi ori, uri, uri, shir daveri, kivod Adonai, alayim diva, lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 le'shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 le'shabbat nekavela. We rise, we face the door to welcome in the image of the Shabbat bread. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela, lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll welcome each other as we welcome the Shabbat bride. And for those of you joining us on our YouTube channel and TempleShalom.com, Shabbat Shalom to all of you as well. Happy to have all of you with us on this beautiful Shabbat evening. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As we turn to page 140, a psalm of Shabbat. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. V'hakid b'boker chastecha, ve'emunatecha b'leilot, alei asor ve'alei navel alei higayon b'chinot. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Ki simachtani Adonai b'po'olecha, b'ma'asei yadecha anonim. Gadlu ma'asecha Adonai me'od, amchu machshevotecha. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Page 144. Yitkadav v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Yamad yivrachu tev yamlich malchutev, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala, ba'agala, uv'izvan karivim meru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, Ya'olam al'amei almaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitba'ar, Yitramam, Yitnaseh, Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shmi, Yifudisha, B'richu le'elam min koberchata, B'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechemata, Damiron ve'alma, V'meru, amen. Page 146, we'll rise for Baruch. Lai, 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 lai. Baruch hu et Adonai, amevorach. Baruch Amevorach, Amevorach, Eolam Va'ed. Amevorach, Amevorach, Eolam Va'ed. You can all be seated. If you've been paying attention, maybe if you haven't been paying attention, you might hear outside what might be the sounds of creation. We can we can hear the lightning outside, and we can see the thunder. I know you think I messed that up, but if you look at the story of when the Israelites were standing in front of Mount Sinai, it says that they heard, not only did they hear the thunder, they heard, or saw the thunder, they saw the thunders, plural, and they heard the lightnings, plural. So you can interpret that some other time. It made it a very different day, but perhaps some of those sounds were the sounds of at the beginning of creation in the universe. So maybe there was lightning and there was thunder and other sounds of things coming together in creation. And we say a creation prayer on page 148. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. B'chokhma poteach sha'arim, u'b'tvuna mishane itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'misader et ha'kochavim, u'mishmerotehem barakil ketzono. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech. חושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. לי, 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 Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, lai, lai. Lai, 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 lai. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleim, le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Ama'arim, Aravim. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. This week, we are coming to the very last Torah portion of the book of Leviticus. And in this section, God talks to us a little bit about, well, it's kind of in advance asking or answering, I suppose, the question of the contrarian child. God spent the entire book of Leviticus giving us laws and precepts and ideas and ordinances, and then before we can say, now what happens if I don't do them? Like all of our children, or maybe when we were children, we did it too. God says, here's what happens if you do follow my laws, and here's what happens if you don't follow my laws. And for those who are keeping score, the list of what happens if you do follow my laws is a much shorter list than the list of what happens if you don't, because the punishments get more and more severe along the way for not following. But before we can ask what's the reward or the punishment for the laws that you've given us for following and not following this, we need to first spend some time learning them so we can even ask that question. And on page 150, we give thanks for all of those lessons and how they might enlighten our world. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadita, Otanu limadita. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochvenu v'kumenu nasiach b'kecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hein ayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nehege yomam v'layla nehege yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim baruch atah Adonai Ohel Amo Yisrael Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 152 and 153. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Ukivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'chol nafshecha u'chol me'odecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi netzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta avam v'shivtecha v'veitecha u'vlechtecha v'derech u'shochtecha u'kumecha u'shartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot beinecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמן. Page 157. We'll read responsively in our Ge'ulah, a prayer of redemption. The bottom of the page, let's see. That side of the room over there, you guys get the regular paragraph. The indented paragraph, this side of the room, you get the indented paragraph. They have more people. You need to be louder. Okay. All right, you guys on this side, ready? Here we go. In a world I knew if I said something, they'd be loud. I knew it was going to happen. And we sang joyfully to see these words on page 158. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Ichamocha ba'im Adonai. Ichamocha neder b'chodesh. Norati kilot o sefere, norati kilot o sefere. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, okei hayam nibni Moshe u'Miriam. Ze'eli anu ve'amru, ze'eli anu ve'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 yai lai lai lai. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugolo yad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Go'al Yisrael. Page 160. We ask God to lie us down in peace, cause us to rise again tomorrow to life, to protect us from all bad things that might happen while we sleep, and spread over us the shelter of peace. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu l'chaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. La 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 la, la 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 la. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Haporei Sukkot Shalom Alinu ve'al kol Amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. The people of Israel will keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat through the ages is a covenant for all time, a sign between me and the people of Israel, God said. For in 6 days God made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day God rested. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam v'eri olam v'ni uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uve'yom hashvi'i Shabbat, Shabbat, vayihi nafash Shabbat, Shabbat, vayihi nafash Shabbat, Shabbat, vayihi nafash. Page 164, we rise for our Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yadi tehilatecha Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chaste Avot v'Imahot, V'mevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shmo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magin, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magin Avraham be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, V'chayi hakol atah Rav v'Hoshia, Morid hata'av, Mechakel chayim b'chesed, Mechaye hakol be'rachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofech oholim, U'matir asurim, U'mekayim Emunato Lishene Afar Michamocha Ba'agivurot Umido Melach Melech Memid U'mechaye U'matzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman Atah Chayot Hakol Baruch Atah Adonai Mechaye Hakol Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh U'Kedoshim B'chol Yom Yehagadu Chasela Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue silently. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha divarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Page 371. We think of those in need of healing. We ask for God to bring refuah shlema, complete healing, to Stanley Sachs, Susan Schenk, Ruvain Ben Shlomo Mordechai Vitzipora, David Zimmerman, Kathy Twerdock, Matthew Billings, Zelda Bat Esther Profeta, Brandy Davis, Faye Green, Frederick Kaufman, Janice Broder, Peggy Patrick, Yafa Ben Max, Jane Neff, Yosef Meir Ben Abraham Basara, Melech Ben David, Marsha Weiss, Ganindel Batsima, and David Morse and Dylan Morse. Are there any other names that anybody has for healing? Anybody on this side of the room? Thank you. Anyone else? This side of the room? Thank you. Thank you. For all those we've named and for all those in need, page 371, we ask for full and speedy healing for each one. Misheberat Avoteinu Mekor habracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach Imoteinu Mikor Abracha Leavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Today is May 31st on the English calendar, which makes this the 5th Friday night of the month, which means that you get to determine the sermon, because when it's the 5th Friday night of the month, And my microphone's not caught up in that chain. There we go. It's Ask the Rabbi night. So this is the time where your opportunity to get the answers to all things Jewish that you ever wondered about. So you get to ask the question, I will tell you the answer. And if I don't know the answer, as I usually do, I will make something up that sounds really good, and then I'll look up the answer and call you later this week and tell you the real answer. But in the meantime, we'll start with Denny. Denny, you've got your hand up. So the question was, for the people at home who can't hear it, I always wear a tallis, and often if I'm not here, the person leading wears a tallis at night to lead the service, and everybody in the congregation doesn't wear one. Why? And the answer is this, that we are, the commandment as the rabbis interpreted in the Torah of wearing tzitzit, which we, on Saturday morning, tomorrow morning, it's the third paragraph of the Shema, we'll read it, that God says, put fringes on the corners of your garment to remind you of the commandments. And the rabbis come up with this scheme of the number of twists and knots, and all of this is a reminder. And we're required to do that in the morning, but not at night. There are actually 2 nights of the year that we are supposed to wear a tallis, that everyone is supposed to wear a tallis. Can any of you name those 2 nights? Kol Nidre night of Yom Kippur, and the other one? Not Rosh Hashanah. Anybody else? Super Bowl Sunday. That's not the other one. No. No. And the Super Bowl's during the day anyway, so I don't know. No, the other one that we wear a tallit at night is Erev Simchat Torah. When we finish reading the Torah and start reading over again, everybody wears a tallit that night. But somewhere in the realm of, and we don't know exactly where, but somewhere in the realm of 500 to 900 years ago, roughly. We don't know, because we don't, I mean, that's a very big period of time, 500 to 900 years ago. The thing is, we don't know where in that period of time this developed. We know it was sometime in that 400-year period. In the Sephardic world, the leader of the service, in Hebrew we use the term shaliach tzibur, which literally translated means the public emissary. It's a very complicated name for the person leading the service, right? But somewhere 500 to 900 years ago, in the Sephardic part of the world, it became a custom for the shaliach tzibur, the person leading the service, to wear a tallit at night. Why did it become that custom? And the answer is because it did. And I know that sounds like a strange answer, but we really don't know. We really don't know where this custom developed. We don't know if it was in like North Africa and Egypt or Morocco. We don't know if it was somewhere in Yemen or Iran, somewhere. We don't know where it came from. We just know that it developed in the Sephardic world, and we know this because it was a common practice in Sephardic synagogues and was not seen in Ashkenazi synagogues. So that's why we know it developed there first. And as the modern American and European reform and conservative movements started to form, we saw that the clergy of the dominant religion, Christianity, had a particular regalia that they wore every time they led services. And so the early reformers in Germany in the 1830s, and then followed by the early reformers in America in the 1880s, said, well, if the world around us has regalia, things that the leader, that the pastor and the priest wear to lead the service, maybe there's a Jewish way of doing that so that we become more European and we become more American. And they looked around Europe and found nothing. And then they looked at the Sephardic world and said, oh, the Sephardic world has apparently been doing this for hundreds of years. We'll just bring that practice into the Ashkenazi world as well. And so this is why somewhere in the 1800s-ish, probably late 1800s, the Reform and then the conservative movement in both America and in Europe, the rabbi, the cantor, who else was leading services, started wearing a tallit at night, trying to be more European and be more American, but do it in a Jewish way, and found the answer in a Sephardic practice that had been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years, where we actually don't know the origin of it. We just know that it had been there, and hence the custom of wearing a tallit at night when leading services. Good. I know you were going to be up all night without knowing that. Now. Talmudic issues regarding the redemption of hostages. So, this is, I'm glad you gave an easy question. It's a very short answer. And so the Talmud actually speaks extensively about this. It's not just a modern idea of people being held hostage in a war somewhere. Hostages go back to quite ancient times. And the Talmud speaks of the idea that first of all, there's principle number one, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh, or Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh L'Zeh. The first time I said B'Zeh, and the second time I said L'Zeh. All of Israel are responsible one for the other. The change in the Lamed, where it's expressed one way in the Talmud, and the Bet, where it's expressed a different time in the Talmud, and the rabbis go on for like 3 pages of the Talmud deciding whether it should be Zeh B'Zeh or Zeh L'Zeh, because it would give a different meaning to what that responsibility meant and who actually had the responsibility. So that's thing number one. They go on for about 3 pages worth of that material of discussing this. Who has the responsibility and what does that responsibility mean? So number one, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh L'Zeh or Zeh B'Zeh. Every Jew is responsible one for the other. And the other is that in a time of war, and this is hotly debated in modern political circles and debated amongst the rabbis of the chief rabbinate in Israel right now with what's going on in Gaza, is that there is a section of the Talmud that discusses the idea that the primary responsibility of the Jewish community is to redeem the captive. And so it leads to a question, which is a question that I'm not going to begin to answer for the Israeli government to answer, which is, and it's debated in protests in the streets every day in Israel today, and frankly, it should be debated in the streets of other places where there are hostages, because Gaza is not the only place where hostages are being held. There are like 5 places on the continent of Africa and 6 places on the continent of Asia, and et cetera, et cetera. But the idea becomes, is the idea of saying we're going to win a war more important than the idea of doing whatever it takes to redeem the hostages, including winning the war? Is redeeming a hostage more important than political considerations? Consider Americans who are held in jail in Russia, right? So the Talmud would have the debate, and the debate is, should the United States pay ransom to Russia to redeem the hostage? All right? And so that's a political question. I'm not going to answer the political question, but the Talmud deals with that idea also of what's more important, to redeem the hostage or to lose a political debate or to lose money or whatever it is. And it appears that the Talmud falls on the side most of the time, but not all of the time, in that the redemption of the hostage is the key factor, except when it's not. And then the Talmud goes into a few cases where it's not, and finally it resolves with the word teku. Teku is an abbreviation. And what does the abbreviation stand for? It's in many places in the Talmud. Teku kind of means, if I can translate it into body language, teku means this. What it literally means, what teku literally means, it means when the Messiah comes, he will tell us the answer. And so there are many places in the Talmud where the rabbis debate and debate and debate, and they can't come up with an answer. And the ones where they don't come up with an answer, I mean, this is a difficult one, right? Is it more important to win a war, win a political debate, have leverage over someone else or some other country or nation, deal with political fallout, deal with finances, all of these other things that in various hostage situations around the world and throughout history happen? Is the absolute most important thing to free the hostage? Or are there other things that can be more important than that? And so the rabbis say most of the time, freeing the hostage is the key factor. Some cases, other considerations are the key factor. And to really understand the whole picture of everything, we'll wait for the Messiah to come and give us the final answer of what it should be. And so, is that a helpful situation with the hostages in Gaza? I don't know that that's a helpful answer. Is it a helpful answer for people who are being held in prisons in Iran and in Russia and in China and in North Korea and in other places around the world? Probably also not a helpful answer from the Talmud. But if we sit and look at it, it gives us some things. If it doesn't give us the ultimate answer with the teku at the end, the Messiah will tell us, at least it gives us some worthwhile arguments to discuss along the way as we try to figure out what should be the ultimate decisor for that. So the Talmud doesn't give us, it gives us an answer, and then it sort of doesn't give us an answer. But even without the answer, it gives us some things to think about as we try to come up with our answer in our modern world. So there are pages and pages of the Talmud that go on with this discussion. And then after the pages of the Talmud, there are thousands of pages of commentary. And interestingly also, we have commentary from the Roman period. We have commentary from the medieval period in Europe on these. And it's interesting that a lot of the commentaries that we have throughout the ages on this whole idea are very, very much colored by the politics of the place and the day. And so the commentary that we have during the Roman period, from some of the rabbis of the Roman period, which is also the Talmudic period, so some of the Talmudic discussion that we have that says, release the hostages. And then the Roman army came along and they said, unless there's a couple of these cases like the guys banging down the door right now who might kill us if we say there should be some exceptions to the rule. And then the same thing happened during other periods of time. So a lot of the exceptions to the rule that come about in discussion come about from the political realities of where these commentaries were written in the Roman Empire, during the Ottoman Empire, in the Middle Ages, etc. So it becomes quite a body of work. And interestingly, if we bring it to the case of Israel, the current war cabinet has 0 rabbis and 0 Talmud scholars in the war cabinet. So whatever the Talmud says and Judaism says, I don't know how much it's filtering into the current political realities of that. Maybe it should. There was a hand over here. Yeah.
Over the last several thousand years, Israel has gone through several name changes. Judea and how many name changes has it had, and why did it change names so much?
So why are there different names and such for Israel? The basic reason is that, like throughout history, we now have a new what's the highest road in the paved road in the United States of America is here in Colorado. It used to be. It just changed its name, right? Because it was called Mount Evans and now it's called Blue Sky. So why did it change the name? Well, it was something else before it was Mount Evans, right? Why did it change his name? Because Evans wasn't a good guy, and he didn't do anything really bad. He just, supported the murder of lots and lots of Native Americans. That's all. Nothing major. But we should name a mountain after a guy who had, hundreds and hundreds of Native Americans killed. Which is, wasn't he part of the Sand Creek Massacre? I believe he was part of that story, right? And so we changed the name to Mount Blue Sky, but before that had a Native American name, and places change names regularly because of who lives there. Someone comes into a place and they change the name, right? We even go to the story of Abraham. In the story of Abraham, Sarah dies. I hope you all got to that part of the book so far. If not, I forgot to give you the spoiler alert. But Sarah dies. Abraham buys the cave of Machpelah, which is in Hebron, which is also known as Kiryat Arba. And that's what it says in the book of Genesis. It says he buried her in the cave of Machpelah near the grove of Mamre trees. And in case you don't know where the Mamre trees are, that's in Hebron. In case you don't know where Hebron is, we used to call it Kiryat Arba, right? So why was it Kiryat Arba? Because the people who lived there at one point in time called it that. Then other people called it Hebron, and then other people called it after this grove of trees, the grove of Mamre, the field of Mamre. And so it had different names because of who was settled there in the time period. And so we might call it by those different names. And so we lived in the land, Abraham, it says, goes to the land of Canaan. It can't be called Israel then. Why? Jacob hasn't been born yet, and Jacob's name becomes Israel. And so it's the land of Canaan. And they leave the land of Canaan. As they go back in, they come back into the land, and each territory in the land, according to the different tribes of Israel, gets named, right? And so the land of Judah is named after Judah. I know it's a stretch to get there, but... Well, because we weren't called, now we call it the 12 tribes of Israel. The Torah doesn't call it the 12 tribes of Israel. It calls it the 12 sons of Jacob, which would be the 12 sons of Jacob, or the 12 sons of Israel. So they're not really called tribes until we leave Egypt. Because remember, Jacob is alive, Joseph goes down into Egypt, and after Joseph dies, we become slaves. But the tribes of the children of Israel are still there, but it's not until we leave Egypt that we get more described as tribes, because going down into Egypt, it's Jacob and all of his sons who go down into Egypt. And so these territories get named after that, and of course many of the tribes disappear, but the powerful tribe that remains becomes the tribe of Judah, and that tribe, that's that one area of the land, and all of it becomes, because it's all the land after Jacob, who is also Israel, the land gets the name Israel. The word Palestine, it comes from a Roman word that was created by the Roman Empire. We have the Philistines, the Philistine. In the Torah, we have the Philistines, who are a tribal group that live along the coast of what is now like basically south of Tel Aviv all the way down into some northern parts of Egypt. And the Philistine, this tribe, live there. They're seafaring people, and they're warriors and they're traders. And as conquering armies will do, we're going to change the names of things. Why? To kind of beat you down. We still do that today. Remember George W. Bush talking about the head of that country, Iraq? What did he call him? Saddam Hussein, right? His name was Saddam Hussein. George W. Bush wasn't a dumb guy. Or George H.W. Bush, I should say, who said, he would call him Saddam, right? But why did he call him that? If when George H.W. Bush was the head of the CIA, he called him Saddam Hussein. When he was the vice president of the United States, he called him Saddam Hussein. When he became the president of the United States, he called him Saddam. Why? To rile him up. Nobody wants their name to be messed up, but it was part of the propaganda of the whole thing. And so the word Palestine or Philistine came from the Romans who conquered in the Roman Empire and then said, we're going to call it by the name of the guys you fought against in a war in your Torah. We're going to call it by their name and not your name. And so lots of ways names come in, from people conquering a land, people calling it after, and different generations of people calling places different things. And so that's how we get to all of these names. Maybe we'll do one more question. Go ahead. A woman who is not. So I'm not an expert in New Testament literature, so I can't really tell you about the book of Timothy, but I can tell you that there is discussion of proper behavior of a woman more in the Talmud than there is in the Torah. but there is discussion of, I mean, first of all, it's a patriarchal society. So you'll notice that most women who exist in the Torah, their name is wife of so-and-so, right? That's their name. Now, by the way, for instance, what's the name of Noah's wife? Noah's wife. Noah had 3 sons. What are their names? Shem, Yafet, and Cham. What are their wives' names? Wife of Shem, wife of Yafet, wife of Cham. That's their names. They have no names in the Torah. However, interestingly, the rabbis after that, in the Talmudic period and beyond, in the Midrash, give every single one of them a name. Because the rabbis say that the women should not be left out of the story, so they create names for each and every one of them who remained unnamed. So an interesting thing, no names for, I mean, there are women who are named in the Torah: Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Leah, etc., right? Deborah is in the rest of the Tanakh. We have Miriam, etc. But the missing women, the rabbis give them names, right? And more, right? So now, then a second piece to the puzzle. We come to a wedding, and we have a ketubah, right? And a traditional ketubah says what? That the young woman's family is selling her to the groom, and there's a bride price that becomes the dowry, right? So it says you're purchasing for, 3 sheep, 2 chickens, and some gold pieces, this woman. And then we read that contract at the wedding, and then what do we do with that contract? Anybody know what we do with that contract? We sign it before the wedding, but during the wedding we read it. You know what we do with that contract? The wife gets it. She is the owner of the ketubah, not the man. The man does not own the ketubah in a traditional ketubah. A woman, she owns the ketubah, and so it's an interesting play here. She can bring the ketubah to the Beit Din, to the rabbinical court, and say, he has not upheld his end of the bargain. But he has to grant her the divorce in Orthodox law. And if he says no, then she doesn't get a divorce. How does that, we have a word for it. It's called an aguna. It means a chained woman. And what do we do with that in the Orthodox community? The Orthodox community found a way around the rules. They put up signs, if you could see these in Mea Sha'arim and Bnei Brak, these ultra-Orthodox neighborhoods in Jerusalem. They put up signs on the walls, and if you don't speak Yiddish, you won't understand what the sign says. And the sign says, nobody talk to Shlomo until he gives his wife a divorce, he's a jerk. That's really what the sign says. It doesn't say jerk. It says it doesn't say jerk. It says he's a Talmud idiot. That's what it says. It says instead of a Talmud Chacham, a Talmud wise man, he's a Talmud idiot. Don't talk to him and don't invite him to anything until he grants the divorce. So they found a way around it. Yeah. So, yeah. And then we have the case of Beruria. So who is Beruria? Anybody know who Beruria is? Beruria should be famous, and she's not. Every little girl at Hebrew school should learn about Beruria. Beruria is the only woman quoted as a scholar in the Talmud. It's all rabbis and wise men and part of the Sanhedrin, but Beruria is quoted in the Talmud as a scholar. And she was married to Rabbi Meir was her husband, very, very great rabbi of the Talmud. And Beruria would say, someone came, there's a couple of stories of Beruria, 2 quick ones. One, a scholar comes to Beruria and asks her a question. And she says back to him, you know that you shouldn't come to a woman to ask a question because it's not a woman's place to answer a question of a man. Not exactly the most feminist part of the story, right? And then he leaves. And her husband comes to her and says, why didn't you give him the answer? You know the answer. And she said, of course I know the answer, but there's a greater value here. The greater value is not to give him the answer, The greater value is to not bring embarrassment upon him, that he might be embarrassed that I know the answer and he doesn't. And I didn't want to embarrass him in front of the community, so I didn't give the answer. That's one Beruria story. Beruria story number 2. Someone came to Beruria's husband and said, teach me all of the Torah while I stand on one foot. Standing on one foot is the ancient expression for quickly, because if I go like this, I could probably stand here for a while, but it's not going to last very long before I fall over, right? Teach me all of the Torah while I stand on one foot. And he looks at the guy and says, I couldn't teach Beruria the entire Torah in 1 year. What makes you think you could learn it in 5? So that's how wise Beruria was. So, does it talk about being timid or whatever? No. Does the Torah and the Talmud talk about a woman's place? Yes. But does it also give other examples of getting out of that place? Absolutely yes. Where in the Talmud does it say that a woman cannot be a rabbi? Nowhere. Doesn't say it in the Torah. There's no rabbis in the Torah. It doesn't say it anywhere in the Talmud. The reason the Talmud says, the commentaries to the Talmud say, a woman can't be a rabbi because it might be embarrassing to a man that she knows more than he does. And that's why you shouldn't have a female rabbi. So, in 1972, Sally Persand was ordained as a rabbi in the Reform movement in America. In the early 1980s, there were several women ordained in the conservative movement in America. Sally Persand just retired a couple of years ago. She lives in New Jersey. And then we are told that there was a female rabbi who was ordained in Auschwitz. And we are told that in the Sephardic world, there's stories of a female rabbi in the 1500s in the Sephardic world, in Iraq, in the 1500s, a female rabbi. And one last little bit is this. About 10 years ago, the rabbi of B'nai Jacob in Los Angeles, a very large Orthodox congregation, was going to go on a sabbatical for 3 months. And he had a maharat. A maharat is a term that's becoming more popular in the Orthodox world, of a scholarly woman who's not a rabbi, but could be a teacher and a Torah scholar, a Talmud scholar, etc. And he had a woman in his congregation who was a maharat. And he said, while I'm gone, she is the Mara Da'atra of this congregation. Mara Da'atra, Aramaic term for the religious authority here. I'm going to be gone for 3 months. I'll be in Israel on sabbatical. She will be the Mara Da'atra of the congregation. People went up in arms. You can't have a woman who's not even a rabbi. And he said, besides me, she's the best Talmud scholar in this congregation. Does anybody want to challenge me on that? No one raised their hand. Because they knew that other than the rabbi, she was the greatest Talmud scholar in the congregation. The Orthodox Union said, we will not allow you to have her be the Mara Da'atra while you are out of the country. And he said, she's not going to lead services. We don't want a woman leading services. Small baby steps. It'll be men leading services, but if there's an authoritative question, she's the authority. And the Orthodox Union said, we will kick you out of the union of Orthodox congregations if you let her be the maharat. And his response was, I'm leaving on Tuesday. If you don't want our money anymore because we're the largest Orthodox congregation in America and we pay the highest amount of dues of any congregation in the country, then you don't need our money anymore. They didn't bother him after he said that to them. And she was the Mara Da'atra for the next 3 months while he was out of town on his sabbatical. So a little bit about the changing topography of women in roles in Judaism and authority and such. So there you go. We'll come to the final prayers of our service, page 586, as we'll go to the bottom paragraph and we'll rise for Aleinu. Thank you all for all the questions. I hope we all learned a little something cool tonight. 586 at the bottom of the page. Aleinu d'shabeach ladon hakol, lateit gdula liotzer bereshit, shelo asana kugoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kimshpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vigor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shamayim Ve'yoser Haaretz, Umoshav Yikaro B'Shamayim Ima'al, Ushchinatu Zo, V'govei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Einod, Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato, Kakatu B'Torato, Yadata Hayom, Bahashivota Elivavecha Ki Adonai Hua Elohim Bashamayim Ima'al Ve'al ha'aretz Mitachat Ein Od the middle of 590. Ki Amalchut Shelcha Hi Ol Me'atim Loch B'Chavod Kakatu B'Toratecha Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed V'ne'emar Vaya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Vayom hahu Ye Adonai echad Ushemo echad Ushemo echad. We can all be seated. In our yard sites this week, we recall the memories of Caroline Kaiser, Francis Rothside, Harry Silver, Minnie Bain, Barbara Armento, Chaim Volvis Gordon, David Albert, Emery Ludden, Lisa Solomon, Milton Cohen, Minnie Waldbaum, David Slosky, Hazel Solomon, Lauren Arnold, Nanny Post, Adele Siegel, Gloria Simon, Hannah Silver, Jeanette Silver, Lois Roisman, Marla Levin, Paul Tzedek, Louis Erdank, Newton Sanders, Robert Mandelbaum, and Rose Lucky. We also recall the memories of the two people who we buried today in Sons of Israel Cemetery, Dr. Lee Blatt and Roberta Cohen. Are there any other yard sites that anyone is observing this week? Yihiu zichronam lebracha. May their memories be an eternal blessing. Ask mourners to rise and those whose custom it is to stand with them. Page 598. In their memory, we sanctify God's name with the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma, Divrach, Yeruteh, V'yamlich, Malchuteh, V'chayechon, Uvyomechon, Uvchaye, Dechol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, V'zman Kariv, Yimru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, Mavorach, L'Olam, L'Almei Almaya, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitromam, Yitnaseh, Yithadar, Yit'aleh, Yithalal, Shmei D'Kudusha, B'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, D'amiran ve'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Ostei shalom v'mama, huya say shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. We can all be seated. Eric's got announcements. Things that you should know, including some nice things going on in the next 48 hours.
Hi, folks. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Eric. Thanks all for joining us this Erev Shabbat for our service. If you're new or visiting Temple Shalom for the first time, Bruchim Habaim, please be sure to introduce yourself and let us welcome you. Thanks, Rabbi, for leading us this evening, and thanks go to everyone who participated and asked questions during the service this evening. Join us Sunday, June 2nd, starting at the location of the First Synagogue in Colorado Springs at 2:30 p.m., to the Sons of Israel Cemetery at 3:15 p.m., to a reception at Temple Shalom at 4 p.m. The event, in the beginning, will be dedicating the two historic Jewish monuments in Colorado Springs. Members have received a postcard in their mailbox with all the particulars. If you didn't get one but want to know, go to templeshalom.com to register for the reception and get all of the information.
Also, we can add on that table right over there by the door, if you need a map, on that table there's a map to the first location.
Thank you. Save the date of Sunday, June 9th for the Pride Parade. We are participating again this year. This year it's in June instead of July as it was in the past. Same joining instructions apply. Register at templeshalom.com and get out your most colorful and comfortable summer outfits, weather permitting, to join us and walk in the parade. Ask Maggie Riggs for any details. Another save the date opportunity, this time for preschool families. 2 Friday mornings a month in the summer, June, July, and August, there will be a preschool summer Shabbatot program. You can sign up for the whole program or on a day-date basis. Check things out on the templeshalom.com event calendar. Any questions should be directed to the Temple office or Miss Ellie as preschool head teacher. Paper forms are available from the office or printable online on the event page. Support Temple Shalom with our security expense. There's a link available on our homepage at templeshalom.com. Thank you to everyone who's donated extra to our security fund to date. Our security is heightened. Please follow security protocols, and if you have any questions about our protocols, don't hesitate to call the office during business hours. If you know of any Temple members who are ill, hospitalized, or suffering from a loss, please contact the Temple office so we can be sure to provide encouragement and support. And finally, thanks to our Oneg mavens, Judy Karnick, Carolyn Fox, and Trudy Wells for providing Oneg this evening. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And again, if you do want a map for Sunday, they're in a little slot over on that table over there, so you can pick one up over there and join us on Sunday. And it's, for those who don't know, it's kind of on the edge of America the Beautiful Park is where the first location is. How many people knew there was a synagogue where there's now the park? Only a few people. How many knew there was a whole neighborhood where there's now a park? Yeah, there was a whole neighborhood there that doesn't exist anymore. We knocked it down to build a park. We can discuss the ethics of that some other day, but a little song for peace to bring us into Shabbat. Oh, say shalom, bimromav, uya'aseh shalom, aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen. Oh, say, you know what, I'm going to change the key of that because my throat hurts. We go. Oh, say shalom bimromav, uya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. Oh, say shalom bimromav, uya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. Oh, say shalom bimromav, Ya'asi Shalom Aleinu ve'al Yisrael ve'imeru Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please join us in the back for Kiddush and Motzi.